Have you ever wondered what happens when a god just can't make up its mind? Today we're diving into the hilarious and bizarre world of ancient Nubian religion, uncovering beliefs so strange you'll wonder how they ever came up with them. We'll explore everything from a god who needed directions to a sacred mountain that looked a little too much like divine anatomy. By the end, you'll see why the Nubians might just be the funniest civilization you've never heard of. But first, let's talk about a god who was notoriously indecisive. So how do you ask a god a simple yes or no question? The Nubians had a method, but it wasn't exactly foolproof. They believed their top god, Amun, would communicate by physically moving his statue during big ceremonies. Priests would carry this heavy statue on poles, and everyone would watch which way it tilted. A lean to the right meant yes, and a lean to the left meant no. The problem? Sometimes the statue would just wobble back and forth, leaving everyone confused. Priests would have to ask again, basically telling their god, "Hey, could you be a little clearer?" It's like divine indecision, proving that even gods have trouble making choices. But if an indecisive god sounds weird, wait until you hear what they considered their most sacred landmark. What if your most holy site was also the world's most awkward tourist attraction? The Nubians had a sacred mountain called Jebel Barkal, which they believed was Amun's earthly home. Why? Well, because a giant peak on top of the mountain looked exactly like a massive stone phallus. Seriously, kings built their most important temples right at the base of it. Claiming its unique shape was proof of the god's immense creative power. Imagine having to explain that to visitors from other kingdoms. It takes religious devotion to a whole new and very anatomical level. And speaking of going to extremes, their idea of a proper offering was something else. Have you ever tried to impress someone with a gift? Well, Nubian kings took that to a whole new level with something we'll call sacrificial one-upmanship. Archaeologists digging at the ancient city of Kerma found temples filled with the skulls of hundreds upon hundreds of cattle, many with their horns decorated in gold. It seems each new king wanted to outdo the last one. If the previous ruler sacrificed 200 cows, the next one would aim for 300. It wasn't just worship. It was a competition. Forget quiet prayers. The Nubians preferred a divine barbecue big enough to feed an entire pantheon of gods. But not all their gods were just sitting around waiting for a meal. How about a god who knows how to party? Meet Apedemak, the Nubian lion-headed god of war. He wasn't your typical stern deity. Temple carvings show him living his best life. He's often depicted feasting on giant piles of offerings, drinking beer, and generally being pampered by his priests. In many images, he's holding weapons in one hand and snacks in the other, sometimes even with a grin on his face. Apedemak was the god who understood the perfect work-life balance. Smite a few enemies in the morning, then hit the all-you-can-eat buffet in the afternoon. He was a god who truly had his priorities straight. But the desire for a lavish lifestyle didn't stop at death for the Nubians. Finally, what do you do when you love being in charge so much you plan to keep your job in the afterlife? For Nubian rulers, death was just a career change. They were buried in pyramids with everything they'd need to continue ruling from beyond the grave. We're talking full-size boats for sailing the cosmic rivers, beloved pets, and sometimes even servants to keep things running smoothly. Some tombs even contain miniature, fully equipped temples inside them. It was basically an afterlife starter kit for the king who planned on micromanaging eternity.